Hi guys. Now I know that this is unusual for me to do a voiceover. However, I totally forgot to turn the microphone on in order to make this video. So my apology. And I'm talking like the entire time. Maybe the cutting has audio. I don't know. Anyway, I'm going ahead and I'm going to show you guys how to make these citrus rolls. I know I did about 2 years ago. And what I'm doing right now is I'm putting distilled water into a cup because when you make these citrus rolls, whether they're limes, lemons, oranges, I at one time made peaches, you still have to use distilled water to stick them all together. Now, what you see in the on the counter there are my two scrapers, my roller, my paintbrushes, my soap dough, and my 4 pounds of cornstarch. Yes, I buy my cornstarch 4 pounds at a time. I make a lot of bath bombs. So the first thing I want to do is work with the light green because the light green is the inside of the. Look, I'm checking to see if, moving you guys in. The light green is the inside of my limes. So with my soap dough, I will have to knead it and I will edit that until I get to that process. Okay, so I'm going to start working with the inside of my lime. Yes, sorry, I'm being quiet. I hope everybody's week went well. I am posting this on a Tuesday, and I know I said in previous videos, and I will say it again, that I know I said that I wasn't going to make Margaritaville for you guys because I've made it so many times. I make it every year. I have to make it every year. It's a soap and a scent we sell a lot of. So this is a process for every year. And this year I ended up making just one batch. Even though I only have 2 bars left, I figured that once we sell out, we sell out. I think that's what I'm going to start doing with my solstice soaps is, make one loaf when it's sold out, then, that way I can have it for fresh for the next year, that kind of thing, because I usually do sell out of them. But anyway, I am squishing up and getting all of because it when you work with soap dough, especially with my soap dough, it's a great recipe. I will post in the description box below my actual recipe or the video that I give you the recipe for my soap dough. I know a lot of people have trouble with soap dough, so I'll post that down below. But you want to take your whatever inner color you're using, whether it's the green or the yellow for limes, light orange for oranges. You get the idea. One actually it wouldn't be a light orange for the orange, but it would be a medium orange. Anyway, you roll it up like so, and you want to be able to get it to the size you want, like the diameter. And I'm rubbing my finger on there, trying to get that put together. And you see me pound it on the right there on the counter, and that's because I'm trying to make sure that everything is going to stay together and that it's the length that I want. Because once I pull off limes with my cutter with these logs, I wrap them back up in saran wrap and I can use them for other projects. I'm constantly making limes. I'm constantly making lemons. Lemons in particular for the Just Can't Get Enough, which is my actual lemon essential oil soap. So and I like to scrape off my counter and make sure it's pretty clean before I start working with the next color. And I'm going to put some cornstarch out on the counter because we want to make this next color not stick as much as possible. It would be just like you were making bread or cookies or whatever. So the white is the next layer. It is going to be the rind. Now this doesn't take me as long to knead because this is titanium dioxide. With my recipe, I use water-based titanium dioxide, so it makes the soap dough softer at first. It hardens up just fine. It hardens up just as much as the other colors do, but when you're first working with it, it's very soft. I prefer to work with soap dough when it is 2 weeks old. However, I was in a hurry to get my summer soaps done. So this soap dough is only about 5 days old, maybe 6 at the longest. I am not wearing gloves. I didn't feel the need to wear gloves. I didn't have any stinging, burning, nothing of that nature. But I personally recommend that you absolutely wear gloves if it's anything like right after you make the soap dough and you're kneading it to put it in whatever packaging you're putting it in, whether it be saran wrap or a Ziploc bag or an airtight container, whatever. But, after a couple of days, it's not too bad. If you do start to feel a sting or a burn, definitely put gloves on. Okay, I just put a little bit more cornstarch on the top of that white, and I'm putting cornstarch on my roller, and I'm just gonna roll it out. And a lot of times it'll stick because, like I said, this soap dough is not very old. And what I want to do is get this white soap dough to about 1/4 of an inch thick. Now, when it comes up like that, you see me playing at the corner there, it came up and you just push it back together with your fingers. No big deal. You're going to see me. There's a hole right there, and I'm going to, yep, right there. And I'm push it together. So we have our togetherness, and I go along the sides on the outside. I don't just want to rip it up from one side, and obviously turn it over and I do it again. Like I said, I want to get it as evenly thinned out as possible. And again, after that, I will take my scraper to get it up. And I know that's a really strange shape, but it'll work perfectly. Sometimes there's gaps and you have to fill them in, and I show you in this video that happens. So I take my roll that I've already started with. I'm opening up my paintbrushes because I use a paintbrush to wet the. I'll take water and I wet that entire light green log with the distilled water. Make sure it's distilled water because if you use regular water, bacteria, all that, you definitely can still get mold and yuck and ew in there. And I make a straight line. That way I know what I'm working with, and I pressing that down. I roll it all the way over. You see I'm stretching it out just a little bit. And then I'm going to take that and make a straight line. So I have a straight line all the way across. Now you're going to see that there's a piece, there's missing, obviously, I'm showing you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lop off those sides there, and I'm going to take and fill, okay, I take that back. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to stretch that just a little bit, and you see me cutting strips. So I'm going to cut straight strips so I can fill in those gaps. Again, I get it wet with distilled water, so in order for the soap dough to stick together. And then I make that as even as possible. Now, at this point, it does not matter. It does not have to be perfect. So please don't think that there's any kind of perfection needed in this process. And once I'm done with this, I will go ahead and roll it on the table a little bit just to make sure that that white is evened out as well. So I'm removing that soap dough, and I'm pretty sure I usually run it across yeah, there we go. I run it across the counter. And the process, and you can see that you can't see the seam anymore. The seam is completely gone. And I do the same process. Oh, I totally forgot about this part. Yes. On the edges, you're going to want to make sure that you stick the water down in there and press your ends in. So you have that stick even on the very end of the citrus log. And you'll see me do this with the dark green as well. Yeah. I bang it just to make sure it's sticking. I'm pretty sure I roll it again. If I can remember. Oh, no, I guess I didn't. All right. So I'm going to take and clean up the area because I'm working with a dark color and I definitely don't want that white in that dark color. And if I remember correctly, I definitely wash everything off because the roller has all kinds of white soap dough on it. So I'm going to pause you here and come back when the green is ready to be rolled out. Just a quick comment. This green, because there is absolutely no titanium dioxide in it, is extremely difficult to work with at first, but the heat of your hands will help to warm that soap dough up to help for it to be more pliable. As you can see, when I was pushing it down, it was sticking to the counter. And it does take a little bit of elbow grease there to get it to be pliable. But once it is, like I said, it heats up in your hands, it's completely pliable and beautiful. And the reason for the hardness is because there is no extra water in that. Like with the light green, it was green with titanium dioxide. And then, of course, the white is titanium dioxide. And as you saw, I put more cornstarch out. I'm putting more cornstarch on my roller. So it's the same process for this that I use with the white. And again, this one I want a little bit thicker. A quarter of an inch is pretty thin, and I want the actual, well, I guess it's the rind. That white part would have been, the space between the rind and the actual fruit, whatever. I don't know what that's actually called, like even in real life. But this is the outside of the lime, obviously. Woo, having issues tonight. Today's the 1st of May, and we celebrated the beautiful warm weather by having my daughter and her 3 kids, and then I had my daughter-in-law who lives here with my 3-year-old grandson. They were here and we barbecued. I mean, my husband, he loved it because my husband loves to barbecue. He made fish, he made burgers, he made dogs, he made me a steak. We grilled summer squash and zucchini and asparagus. It was so good. My daughter made Arabic salad. My daughter makes an awesome Arabic salad. I don't know if I've ever said this, but my son-in-law is half Lebanese, and we eat a lot of Arabic food. I love Arabic food. That's fantastic. So, and you can see that this has a lot of cornstarch on both sides, actually. I just want to point that out for, what I know I talk about later. And I keep turning it around, fixing the holes and making sure that everything is good. But I don't want that to be sticking to the counter, because again, I'm going to make a straight line like I did with the white. I pull that off, or at least, well, that's a straightish line, isn't it, Sue Lynn? Get the outside of that white wet. And then again, I'll use the same process, and see, it didn't quite come up, so I used my scraper. And yes, that's just a regular like kitchen scraper. It came with a cake set that I bought it for my daughter. Actually, it had like a cake stand and all that kind of stuff. I was showing you that there's a gap again, and that's not a problem. The gap is not an issue. So when you're doing this, you don't have to try to kill yourself to get it to be perfect. You can see well, maybe you can't see it here. You'll be able to see it in when I actually cut the limes, that the green is thicker than the white. So I'm going to cut some more off of there so I can fix those two spots that have gaps. Water again. I'm going to take a little piece of that right there, smush it on there, and I work it with my finger. And for the outside, because the outside you want it to be a little bit more smooth, that I like to take water on my fingers and I will smooth that out some more. Plus, I want to get that excess cornstarch off. See, I'm showing you, you can't see the seam anymore, but there is a lot of cornstarch on it. Oh, hold on. Okay, yeah. So there is a lot of cornstarch on it. So first of all, I'm going to take and do the same process as I did with the white, and I'm going to make sure that that green is stuck to the white. So I'm going to press all that down, and now the audio should be good with the video. Banging it, same process I've done. But as I was saying, there's a lot of cornstarch on the outside of it, and I don't want my limes to be cornstarchy because that would be terrible. Customers are actually going to see, that white. I mean, look how much cornstarch is on there, but you can't see the seam. Everything looks good. So I take my paintbrush and I put a lot of distilled water on here. I'm literally scrubbing it, as you can see. I think I get into camera better so you can see. Because what cornstarch starts to do when you're trying to get it off soap dough is it almost looks like it bubbles up. Can you see that maybe a little bit? Then I take a paper towel because, like I said, I got that like soaking wet, and I wipe it off. And I will let this sit. See how much cornstarch I got off of there? I will let this sit for about an hour before I even try to mess with it again. And of course, I'll want to make sure that my counter is completely clear and cleaned up. But the next thing that you are going to see actually has audio, and that's the cutting of it. So we're going to skip ahead to that.
Okay, I know that this is a little bit darker, and I probably should be doing this with you guys like at the level that, you watch me cut soap at, but we're going to do it this way. And I'm not sure if the mic was on for the beginning portion of this, so if it wasn't, I apologize. I did a voiceover. Okay, so you see how we have our 3 layers there, and I'm going to cut this off kind of deeply so we have clean, crisp lines. Oh, I'm going to have to fix that. But that's what we have. Yeah, that's going to have to be fixed. When I cut them into, what's it called? Pieces, when I cut them into slices. So let me show you. I'll cut this into a slice. And it's easily fixable, those kinds of things. So we have our first slice. And I like to make sure that the rind part is rounded over. And I will cut this part in half. And I do it as in half as possible and try to get right on top of it. There we go. Okay, so, I lost some. So with distilled water, I can fix that part. It's not an issue, which I don't have any distilled water like out at the moment. But even with, because it's still soft on the inside, even with that soft, oh, I'm sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. Even with the softness of that soap dough, you can still fix it with your finger for the most part. So, and then we have a lime slice. And you can take and bend it a little bit so it's got, you know, more of sort of like the crescent shape that one would have. And I'll do the same with this one. Like I said, they're not always going to be perfect, and it really doesn't matter. These harden up so well that once you are putting them back together, if there's a flaw in the middle, it's not going to be noticeable. Plus you get the general idea. So I'm going to pull this a little bit like this so I have that crescent shape. Like this. So I'm just sort of squeezing my fingers. So, I mean, like I said, not perfect, but it works. And that's the important part. So yeah, that's how I make all of my citrus rolls. Yeah, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. I'm going to go ahead and cut my 10 limes for my Margaritaville that I'm not going to make you sit through this year. But I'm looking forward to showing you the other two that you've never seen before. Actually, I'm really excited about it because these are a lot of fun to make. So I will see you for our little summer series here. So bye-bye.